He said time is not money, it's worth much more. And when you realize the worth of your time, you know how to spend it on things that are very productive. So, the next speaker is the founder of Alma Solutionists, globally certified design thinking practitioner, and ICF certified transformative coach. Has delivered 300 plus behavioral and leadership workshops and has transformations to his credit for 10,000 plus. Also have trained more than 6,500 people in design thinking since June 2018. So I will not prolong. I deliver to you the next speaker for today, which is Bruhad Buck. Over to you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much, Phil. Firstly, Sujata, wonderful, wonderful presentation. I really loved the way you presented the entire piece. And I will pick up from where you left, which is the art of letting go. Uh, Time management or self-management is all about letting go, and it's not about having it all. Is something that I'm going to start with. So thank you so much for giving that cue to me for me to start my session. All right. Okay. So we all live in a world which is full of tools, frameworks, tips, tricks, methodologies, and whatnot. We live in a world full of information. We live in a world full of so much advice, so much consultation going on around that we fail to understand that time management as a concept does not exist. You may be wondering why there is no slide presented here. And the reason for that is I am not going to present any slide to you. Time management as a concept does not exist because of the following reason. Think about it. There are 24 hours in the day. You can't make them 25. You can't make them 23, can you? All you can do is manage your own self within those 24 hours to make yourself something that we all call as productive. And during my recent session, I was doing the self management Think 3D session with one of my clients. And during the break, one of the senior leaders came in and said, Bro, you've started off something very interesting, but I know where you're going to go to. I really know that you're going to give us tools, you're going to give us frameworks, and my CEO expects me to be more productive. Now, before you go on and give us those tools, those frameworks, those different kinds of beautiful infographics that you show on your presentation, let me tell you, I've been trying to use Stephen Covey's priority matrix. It does not help me. I've tried to sort things out. It's just not helping me. I've tried to cut my non-essential meetings. I've tried prioritizing tasks, and I have tried obvious ways to do these things more efficiently, but I'm just not able to make myself productive. Well, you may consider this as a joke, but the best I can think of doing something right now is cutting down on my intake of water, tea, or coffee so that I can reduce my bathroom breaks and so that I can have those extra minutes for me to relax and get some time for myself. Funny, isn't it? Now, this is exactly how everyone thinks about time, and that is exactly where all of us go wrong. As a culture, we are all obsessed with personal productivity. Everyone wants to become the Vin Diesel of Too Fast, Too Furious. We want everything very quickly. The impulse takes over, the patience doesn't stay, and we say we just want to get so much done in limited time because on social media, there are so many people doing so many things in limited time, and I'm just not able to match my speed up to that. I've read time management books. I'm dreaming of 4-day work weeks because some countries have applied it, and why not in our country? I just want to get some time, personal time, to enhance my productivity, and that is where you need to know that time management in today's world is no longer physical or emotional. It's all psychological. All of us believe that if we have so many tasks to do, time management is a solution. To-do lists is a solution. Prioritizing things is a solution. Prioritizing them based on urgency and importance is the solution. But no, that is actually the problem. Time management is actually the part of your problem. And that is exactly where self-management comes into picture. Now you may be wondering, bro, what are you saying? This all sounds good in theory. This all sounds good in books. How is it that we really can apply this in our real life? And for that, I'm going to share something very interesting with you. I hope all of you can see my whiteboard. I'm going to share with you a formula which is going to change your life. And this formula is called ROTI, which is return on time invested. All right. Now, I hope you have pens and papers with you, or you can just open a notepad or probably a calculator because you may be doing some mathematics here. All right. Pardon me if I go wrong with my mathematics because I'm a little weak with maths, but let's try and give you something which you can take away, which you can apply almost immediately in your life. All right. So let's start with the first part of this formula. All right. Now, this is your total income or earnings per month. Now, typically, if I was to look at a total income or earning, I would look at all your investments, your assets, anything that helps you to accumulate wealth. But for the sake of this particular activity, let's try and take your monthly salary. All right. Let's say that you earn $10,000 a month. Wow, that's fascinating, isn't it? $10,000 a month, not bad. All right, okay. Let's think about it as $10,000 a month. That's something that you earn. All right. Now, what you need to do is you need to divide this. You need to divide this by the total number of hours you spent earning it. Now, let's consider that you work for 40 hours a week, approximately 4 weeks. That makes it around 160 hours a month. And let's focus on saying, okay, you're spending 100 hours earning it, just for the sake of calculation. Like I said, my mathematics is a little weak. All right, so let's say this is your total number of hours that you spent earning it. Right? What will this give you? This will give you your value in dollar per hour or your worth per hour, which is approximately $100 per hour. Right? So this is your value in terms of per hour. This is what you are worth per hour. Now imagine, okay, and I want you to calculate your own piece. And I will want you to use the chat box and tell me how substantial this amount looks like, all right, when it comes to your own earning. Don't disclose your earning. It may demotivate the others or motivate the others, but don't share your earnings. All right, so what we're going to do is imagine that in the month, all right, you waste around 60 hours. Let's say you waste around 60 hours in a month. All right. Now, what you will have to do is you will have to multiply this by your value per hour. This will make it approximately $6,000. So you have wasted around $6,000 per month. You wasted $6,000 per month. Now, multiply this particular part by 12, because we have 12 months in a year. This is equal to, oh, that's a whopping figure. This will give you somewhere around $72,000 annually. This is the total time stroke money that you have wasted. And imagine what you could do with this money. What can you do with $72,000? Could you probably buy a new car? Could you probably pay the mortgage for your house? Could you probably get your EMIs sorted? What else could you do with this kind of money? But this is exactly where your self-management thinking comes into the picture. Imagine that you want to buy an Apple phone costing $1,000. All right. Are you really giving $1,000 for this phone? You are actually giving away 10 hours of your work for buying an Apple phone. 10 hours of work will only get you one phone. If you want to buy a car, those many number of hours are going to get you that car. If you want something else, those many number of hours that you've invested, that you have really worked hard, you've sweated day in, day out to earn that money, and all that hard earned money is all going in for a toss. This is exactly where you are trying to waste your money. Tell me in the chat box, do you think this is a substantial amount? Or do you think, no, this is an amount which we can easily afford? We earn enough that we can afford to waste this much. Tell me, what do you feel? Have you calculated your own scores? Have you calculated your own scores? And if so, what do you feel? Is it substantial? Is it big? Is it huge? Is it insignificant? What is it? I'm going to give you a minute to calculate, because that is something that you may want to use the calculator for, because you may be earning much more. And that is what makes us not value our time. That is what not makes us think about time in a different dimension. What we always think about is, how does it matter if we're spending half an hour here? How does it matter if we're spending 15, 20 minutes there? How does it matter if we're doing this? How does it matter if we're doing that? And these are the small, small things which are actually compounding over a period of time and making this huge, making this substantial. Think about it as you investing your money. Now, I'm sure all of you must be doing SIPs. You must be doing, you must be putting in fixed deposits. You must be investing your money in order to accumulate wealth. ROTI to your life is as significant as compounding interest is to your wealth. And that is where you need to start thinking about something which is called as the significance dimension. What is the significance dimension? We all think about priorities. We all talk about urgent things. We say, how soon does this particular thing matter? We also talk about importance, which says how much does this particular thing matter? But what we all forget is that while the importance and the urgency is an integral part of our life, what is most important is how long is this going to matter? But that is the significance dimension which changes everything. One of my participants in one of my programs came and told me, bro, we are implementing a new technology in the organization. We are looking at an ERP system implementation, but I think it's a waste of time and money. And why is it a waste of time and money? Because all they are doing is coming to me, asking me for data. They are taking that data, dumping it into a system, coding and doing something which I don't understand, and they say they're going to automate this entire piece. And my simple question to this particular gentleman was, what do you think is going to be the impact of the implementation of this ERP system in your work? I don't know. Have you asked them? Good one. Let me go and check with them what is going to happen with me. So he goes back. He comes back after a couple of days and he says, Bruce, what they're trying to tell me is with this ERP system in place, I will become 25% more productive. I will do this, I will do that, and blah, blah, blah. He gave me some statistics. And I'm like, I don't want statistics. You tell me, how is it going to impact you? How is it going to impact your life? And how is it going to make life easy or difficult for you? And his answer was, I think, and well, what I'm seeing is I will be able to do things that I haven't been able to do in the past because of a certain system or a certain structure that was missing in my life. That may lead to me getting promotions, that may lead to me getting a role enrichment, that may lead to me getting multiple other things that I honestly did not think of. Oh, this is significant. This is huge. And that, my dear friends, is exactly the word that all of you should be looking for. This is significant. The next time you think about spending time on something, you may think that, oh, this is urgent. I need to do this right now. My boss has asked me to do this right now. You may think it is important. I really, really need to do this because it is going to impact my career for some period of time. But what you really need to ask is how long is this particular thing going to matter? And that exactly goes for all your thought processes. Some of you may be thinking, I want to start my own business. I want to get out of this 9 to 5. I do not want to stay in my corporate life. And I really want to do something substantial in my life. But I can't do it. I have EMIs to pay off. I have children to feed. I have a family to take care of. And that is important for me. I don't say that is not important. All I'm asking you to do is how long is this thought going to be with you? If this thought is going to be with you for a long period of time and it's going to eat you every single day of your life, is it really worth thinking about it? Is it really worth making it eat your brains up and saying and feeling bad about it every single day rather than thinking about how is it that you can make life better both for your family and for yourself by taking that small risk? That is where the significance calculation comes into the picture. That is where the ROTI comes into the picture. And what I see Jitesh and Nupur as participants telling me that they are substantial amounts and they are huge amounts. Your necessities, your luxuries, everything can be taken care of if you start thinking about self-management as a psychological piece and not as a physical or an emotional piece. Most of our decisions get emotional, we get intuitive, we get instinctive, and we say that if we do this, this will happen. If we do that, that will happen. And your entire life goes just in thinking. ROTI will just change all of that. Imagine this, in a 24-hour day, you spend 8 hours in sleeping. The rest of the 16 hours, 8 hours, you are approximately 8 hours you're working. And now, because of the work from home and the pandemic, you're working approximately 12 hours. You still are left with 6 hours, and all you're doing in those 6 hours are thinking, what can I do with my life? Now, imagine if this is the kind of money that you're making. You're wasting $600 per day, which makes it $18,000, and which makes it's a huge amount. I can't even calculate. My mathematics is that bad. And that is the kind of amount you're wasting in thinking about things that are not significant. These are the worries which are eating you, which may not be there in reality, and you are wasting time on that. And you are expecting matrices, tools, tips, frameworks to actually solve your problem. It's not going to solve your problem. It is not going to solve your problem. And that is why you need to transition to self-management. When it comes to self-management, all I always tell people is when you're thinking about compounding your wealth or you're planning to increase your wealth using investments, everyone does an SIP. And I'm going to give you an SIP for self-management today. The first S in the SIP is called as space your pace. And what I mean by space your pace is do not think of everything to happen at the pace of knots or at the speed of knots. It's not going to happen. Every individual has his or her own destiny. Every individual has his or her own way of dealing with things. Everyone has their own time, and your time will come. You don't need to work at a pace like the others are working. Do not rely on what you see on social media, because all of that is merely an illusion. Give yourself that space to think about the ROTI. Give yourself the time to think about that significance dimension. Give yourselves the time to decide your own pace and decide, this is the right time to do my thing, that is the right time to do my thing. And that brings me to the I. And the I is simply about introspection. And it's about introspecting where you are spending your time. Many of my participants tell me, bro, we want entertainment. We want to watch Netflix. We want to watch Amazon. We want to immerse ourselves into an experience that helps us relieve our stress. Do that. I'm not asking you not to do that. I'm not asking you to work 24 hours a day, 365 days, seven days a week. I'm not asking you to do that. But introspect, really. Are you really spending your time in the right way? Because time management is not about physical or not about being emotional. It's more about psychological. And that brings me to the P. And I'm sure you must be wondering, Growth is now going to talk about practicing. He's going to talk about philanthropy, or he's going to talk about prioritization. But what I'm talking about is I want you to personalize self-management. And what I really mean by personalizing self-management is you are the master of your destiny. You are the master of your time. You can decide when to start. You can decide when to stop. You can decide when to take a pause. And nobody else can decide that for you. If you believe that, I am a student and my parents are really, really, putting pressure on me of doing this and that, they're actually not putting pressure on you. They're trying to tell you something for your own good. You are putting pressure on yourself. If somebody's saying, why don't you start a job and start earning? Entrepreneurship is not for you. The choice of going into a job is yours. It's not theirs. You are the master of your own destiny. You are the person who's deciding what to do. Nobody can decide what you do. Remember, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to the other. And when you say to no thing, you're saying yes to the other. And that's exactly where the significance dimension comes in. And that is where you can control your own destiny using self-management. Self-management is nothing. It is not as fancy as you think. Self-management is not about using tools, tips, tricks, frameworks, but it's about giving yourself that permission, giving yourself that permission to think that this is not the right time to do this, whereas this is the right time to do this, and nobody else can decide it but you yourself. And this, my dear friends, is something that I wanted to share with you in the 30 minutes that you have spent with me. All I can say is that time is not going to stop for you. Time is not going to wait for you. So if you believe that time is money, you're absolutely wrong, because time is much more than money. Money can go and come back, but the time gone is never going to come back. Thank you so very much for listening to me. Thank you so very much for having patience with me for the last 20, 25 minutes. And I now open the floor to questions and answers. All yours.
That was very wonderful and significant as the significant dimensions, uh, Brad. So like it's really intelligent of you to share, like giving us the thought of like time, not just like talking about money. Like we have to give ourselves like the peace of mind that we will deserve, instead of like worrying things that's not in reality. So that's really insightful. So yeah, we can now like entertain questions regarding the
Absolutely.
topic.
Yeah, pretty amazing session. I mean, very impactful and very interesting from start to end. So
so
yeah,
much.
definitely we have to talk offline and to see what else we can explore, in this thought pattern. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much.
It was awesome. You've got a compelling way of telling things. I tell you seriously, I just loved it.
Thank you so
You
much, Siddhartha.
you had this
Thank
to
you so much.
break some assumptions and then come back to it again. It was something really very, very awesome. Really.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
I have a question for you. May I?
Sure. Yeah, please.
So when you're saying of managing self, which is something really awesome, all right, it takes the whole pressure out that someone is putting on us. I take responsibility for myself. It's something fabulous. But there are some shared meetings, shared work. So how does one integrate that? If you can give some tips, I'm sure whoever is going to listen will find it very
Sure.
meaningful.
Definitely. So yeah, this is a question that has always been very tricky. And thank you so much for asking that question. See, when it comes to shared work, when it comes to you know you depending on somebody, you got to think of this as, is it in your control to take a decision for yourself? If the answer is yes, then the choice is yours. If the answer is no, what you can do is you can try and make the most out of whatever you are doing in those 20 minutes, 25 minutes, or 30 minutes. Now, let's give you an example. Let's say you are a part of a project and you have 30 members in that project. Now, 30 members are not going to get an opportunity to speak. Whereas in that meeting space, somebody is sharing something. If you believe that you can add value to that particular piece, add value when it comes when the time comes, and leave the rest of it and continue doing your work on a sideways, because that is something that you cannot control. Now, if you keep thinking about it, saying, "Oh my God, I have to be in this meeting. I don't think I will get an opportunity to speak. What do I do? Where do I go? What do what do I really contribute, etc., etc." These thoughts are all actually wasting your time, because you can't do anything. You can't do anything. You just got to accept it and move on. And that is where you need to focus on. Am I able to control it? If yes, take a decision, move on, accept it. If you cannot, you still got to accept it, but you can do your thing by contributing your 2 cents. And that is the maximum thing that you can do when it comes to shared projects, or when it comes to things that you're dependent on somebody else.
Awesome. Very nice. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to share their insight or ask a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Bruhad, this is Harini here. At the
Hi,
outset,
Harini.
it was wonderful listening to you. You
Thank you so
absolutely
much.
made me proud as I heard you. And, I know that you're working a lot with students as well. And so am I. So my question to you is, when you're giving this ROTI formula to students, they may not be able to relate with total income or earnings per month at this stage in life. So
Yeah.
how do you explain this concept to students? How do you help them quantify this?
Thanks a lot, Harini, for that question. So, just for knowledge of people, I'm very proud that Harini, you are, here. Harini is was my mentor, is continuing to be my mentor. So, I'm really happy that you are here. Thank you so much for coming and listening to me. And now to answer your question, when it comes to students, what I typically do is I ask them how much do they invest in, let's say, recharging their mobile phones, or buying a Netflix subscription, or buying any subscription that they do, or thinking about their pocket money. And some of them say, we don't get pocket money, but we have this subscription and we have this and that and all. So I say that, okay, you are investing so much money over here and you're feeling good. And this generation believes a lot in subscribing to the Zakir Khans and the Atul Khatris of the world. They love these experiences. And I say, you find that 1 hour worth. Why do you find that 1 hour worth? And they say, we get 1, we get 2, we get 3, we get 4, we get 5. and they are very clear on those aspects. So the ROTI for them is basically, what are you going to get as an output from that particular experience that you are having? If you can quantify that in, let's say, I'm going to get 3 outputs from, let's say, this session. If I'm going to get 3 outputs from, let's say, a Netflix movie, if I'm going to get 3 outputs from, let's say, a coaching session, and if you get that, your ROTI is perfect. If you do not get that, that means you have not put in the effort of understanding where you are really investing your time.
Interesting. So even if they cannot quantify or start with earnings, I think definitely they can put the amount that they're spending and calculate from that whether they're getting value for the money. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. For that. Thanks, Arni, for the question. Thank you so much. Yes, please. Any other question that any of you may have?
Thank you. Anybody wants to ask more?
I think we have one question in the Q&A. Phil, can I take that?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So can delegating tasks increase ROTI? Which tasks can be delegated? All right. So to answer your question, delegating tasks, yes, they can increase ROTI, but it's more about how you are empowering them from delegation. If that delegation is going to, increase your own work, even after explaining that to the person 3 times, your ROTI is not really going to be, not really going to be as substantial for you as you would like it to be. So if you were to really delegate something, you got to think of 3 major aspects. One is that individual capable enough of handling this particular task on his or her own style? Is it that they can do it on their own and with a little bit of a hand-holding? Number 2, how many times would you want to step in and give them that particular hand-holding piece? So is it going to be once? Is it going to be twice? Is it going to be thrice? So you got to decide that particular piece. And 3 is the kind of tasks that you need to delegate should be based on the competency level of that particular individual, rather than thinking, oh, this is priority C for me, let me delegate that task. So if you tick these 3 boxes, definitely your ROTI will definitely increase. And that's something that I just wanted to answer. I hope that I answered Tejal's question. Yes.
All right. So yeah, I think that really answered Tejal's question. So no other questions, and we can proceed to closing the session.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, for both speakers, thank you so much for spending your time sharing your knowledge and intellect to each and everyone today. So we thank you for that. And so also, we have our live youth Let Us Talk It webinar every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And this week, the topic is youth's favorite idioms. So you can join the preparation sessions every Tuesday and Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time by registering at our website, letustalkit.com/youth. So for younger youth group, we have live webinars this Friday, 18th of June at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So topic is youth's favorite summer activities. So we've had our own favorite summer activities, so this will be fun. So we hope that all you can join these youth webinars, so we could also encourage our youth in terms of doing the speaking. All right. So without further ado, thank you so much again, everyone, and have a good day. See you around.
Thank you also.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you so much, Sujata. It was a wonderful session, wonderful hearing you.
Yeah.
Look forward to connecting with you.
Must congratulate our organizers, because both our topics it's so beautiful listening to you, and I felt it was a real good, both of them gelled, the topics.
They did. Yeah. So thank you so much, Let Us Talk It team. I think really grateful to all of